Well, I think we're going to get started. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time to join us today for our webinar, A Deep Dive into MIPS Data Submission for Year 2. My name is Michelle Brunson, and I'm a Health IT Advisor here at Telegen. Presenting with me today are my colleagues, Tamika Williams and Kelly Smith. You may download the slides on our TelegenQPP.com website. I have that link right here showing in the chat function for all of you. If you go to TelegenQPP.com and go under Resources and Webinars, and then the heading QPP Program Webinars, you'll see the link for the webinar today where you can download those slides. Your lines have been muted to avoid unnecessary background noise, but we do ask that you also mute your lines just to make sure we don't have any issues with that, and please do not place us on hold. We do plan on leaving time at the two different points during the webinar here to ask questions, and so we'll open up the lines at that time to allow you to ask questions. And this call is being recorded and will be posted to our TelegenQPP.com website in the next few days. So we have that available if any of your colleagues would like to listen to this or you'd like to hear parts of it again. Following our discussion today, you'll receive a survey. We ask that you please complete it. We really do value your feedback you share with us. It helps us plan and prepare for future webinars and also to determine where more technical assistance is needed. So first of all, Happy New Year. We'd like to wish all of you a Happy New Year, and we hope that your 2019 has started off well. Here at QPP-SURS, we work with small practices in Iowa, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota. We are excited to get to continue to work with all of you again this year. If you are in another state or with a bigger practice, welcome. We're glad to have you. And if you have any questions about how to get help in your state or with your bigger practice size, we would be happy to connect you with the appropriate organization. Just let us know. So today we're going to talk about the MIPS data submission. We'll start off with an overview, and then we'll go into the actual data submission via the Quality Payment Program website, showing you file upload as well as attestation with screenshots that we have. And then finally, we'll talk about the new HICS Access Roles and Profile System. This is also referred to as HARP, and it is the system that CMS has transitioned from the EIDM account that you may have already had from last year. So if you need a new account or somebody has joined your organization, then that last section here will allow you to show you the steps to do that. So the reason why we have it in this order is that if you already have your EIDM account, now called HARP, you will not need to stay on for that last part. We will have a Q&A session after the data submission portion and then also after the HARP system portion. So before we get started, I would like to ask if how familiar are you with the MIPS reporting data submission? I'm not sure if that function is available. Tamika, were you able to get that function available?
No, Michelle.
Okay. Okay, well, we're going to talk about everything anyway, so talk to us during the Q&A and let us know if you're new or if you reported last year or if you helped somebody maybe to report last year. So we'll just move right along, no problem. So now we're going to cover the overview of the MIPS data submission for Year 2. First of all, we want to let you know that there are some key dates that you want to remember for the MIPS data submission. If you are using the QPP website to submit your data or for qualified clinical data registries or qualified registries, the data must be submitted anytime between January 2nd and April 2nd by 7 p.m. Central Standard Time or 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you are a group of more than 25 using the CMS Web Interface Data Submission option, you must submit your data between January 22nd and March 22nd, again at 7 p.m. Central or 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, our webinar focuses mainly on the MIPS data submission today, but we want to include a slide here on supporting documentation, as this is the most important piece. And so, first, you must retain your documentation for the 2018 and all MIPS data submission years for at least 6 years at a minimum, even more if you can and would like to. We suggest that you keep all documentation electronically and on paper, because if one fails, the other one will be your backup. And make sure that others in your organization know where the documentation is kept. This is so important as turnover happens, and if you are audited years later, you want to make sure that somebody knows where all that documentation is kept. And you also may keep an audit binder, as well as have a location on the common drive that's very easily identifiable. Maybe like have the file say MIPS, and then within the MIPS folder each year, and then maybe a folder on each eligible clinician data if you report individually or as a group, I guess, as well. So first, you want to keep your EHR reports for each clinician and for the specific time frame that you did use to report your data. So for quality, you'll need the full year. For promoting interoperability, you will need any time frame of at least 90 days or longer, depending on what you choose to use. If you do run multiple reports for PI to see which time frame was most advantageous for you, please make sure you keep the correct period used and discard those that were not used so there's no confusion. We have had that happen with one of our clients. So it's just really important to make sure that you choose the final one and get rid of everything else that you don't need there. Next, you want to keep your security risk analysis and all accompanying policies and procedures. And if you can store that both electronically and on paper, even better. And then if you had any important communication from your vendors, such as maybe EHR or your registry or QCDR, maybe you have issues or delays or problems with the validity of your data, anything that you might need for supporting documentation, make sure you keep that. If you submitted for a promoting interoperability hardship exception, make sure that you keep the approval from that email as well. And then improvement activities documentation, any and all improvement activities documentation you have, keep that in the file, as well as if, if you did submit your quality measures via claims and you keep those EOBs that shows that you have the N620 code on there that shows it was approved for the quality payment program. And then retain the data you submitted to your qualified clinical data registries or your qualified registry, as well as proof of their submission on your behalf. Now, we recommend that you log into the portal to view how your scores, if they're submitting on your behalf, after you know it's been submitted. Hopefully everything will be there and accurately reflected, but if not, you would still have time then to contact them and let them know of something that didn't happen that you expected, or to iron that out with them, and still have time to get that resubmitted on your behalf. So please do make a login and check your scores. And then screen prints from the data submission from the portal that either you did for yourself or if they did for you. So if you reported individually, keep that for each of the clinicians, as well as if you reported as a group. Again, please reach out to us with any questions you might have, either with supporting documentation or the MIPS submission process, of course. And we do have a link under our resources slide that's an excellent document for the supporting documentation requirements for each category and each measure. It's called MIPS Data Validation Criteria, and each year CMS updates it for the appropriate measures. We'll use this document all the time when we work with our clients. So now we're going to talk about submitting data through the Quality Payment Program website. So first of all, you want to sign on to the website using your former EIDM, or now called HARP credentials, and the login is qpp.cms.gov/login. And there we can submit data or a test for the performance categories: quality, promoting interoperability, and improvement activities. You don't see cost there because cost is calculated by the claims that you submit throughout the year, so there's no specific data submission at the end of the year. And data is automatically saved or updated in real time on this site, and so You can update data submission at any time until the final date. And so that's nice that there's no finality when you think you're done and you go back and decide you need to update it again. There is no submit button, so you won't see that. It just saves everything as you do it. So that's why we do recommend that you print the screens for each category as well as the overview for the preliminary final score, and keep those in your supporting documentation. So now we'll talk about reporting MIPS with a file upload, and this would be done when your EHR generates the QRDA3 file or a JSON file. So before we begin, I want to let you know we have screenshots here, and we apologize ahead of time if they aren't as clear as we would like. We've used red circles, rectangles, and arrows to really draw your attention on the screen to the area we're referencing, but just so you know, that's why. And you may see very small print. We apologize for that as well. Now first, so you're going to sign into the QPP website, again at qpp.cms.gov. And once you're there, you're going to click on the Sign In on the top right where that arrow is pointing. And then you'll enter your user ID and password, formerly EIDM, and this year it's called HARP. You agree to the statement of truth, and then you click on the orange Sign In rectangle. And once you've entered your credentials, you can start reporting. So you're either going to click on Start Reporting on the right, or you're going to click on the Eligibility and Reporting on the left-hand side menu. Either one will take you to the right place. So now this year, you may see tabs at the top if you have access through your user profile of any organization type, such as APM entities, registries, virtual groups, or practices. You may not see any additional tabs besides practices, as no other organization type may apply to you for your sign-in. So here, Practices tab is circled in red, which is what most of you will see. In the left rectangle, you'll see organization details for low volume threshold, total Medicare patients at the practice, total allowed charges at the practice, and special statuses and exceptions, like a small practice or improvement activity study credit. If we want to report as a group, we will find our practice, and then we click Report as a Group on the right side. Now, if we wanted to instead report as individuals, we would choose to report as an individual right underneath the group option. You could start the process here, and it will look the same once you're in the performance categories, whether you report as a group or as an individual. If you do report as an individual, once you click on that, you will see a list of connected clinicians for your group, along with the information about each individual eligible clinician and the reporting requirements. You click on Report as an Individual on the right, and it begins the process. Now, on the right, top right, you'll see a Print button. This Print button is a new feature this year, so you can use this as an overview when you're done reporting, as well as for each category, to make sure you print those. And if you happen to have any issues, let's say, with your reporting, this print option is helpful, so you can send the entire screen to the QPP Resource Center for assistance rather than taking multiple screenshots of each page. Now, in our sample, we've chosen group reporting. And so first you can see quality on the left, and it's the first one listed, and then or in the middle of the screen. And you can also see each category on the left menu under Group Reporting Overview, if you squint, that is. Now, we can start reporting on the right with where the arrow is pointing, and this allows you to upload a file, as the quality doesn't allow for manual attestation. Promoting interoperability and improvement activities can be manually entered or attested for, and Tamika will show you that after my portion. So once you start reporting, it'll bring you to this screen, and you can upload your QRDA3 files or your JSON file. You click Browse to bring up the files, and you find where your files are stored on your drive, and then you choose Upload in the red oval. Now, let's say you've uploaded your file, but you get an error message like this because an upload error occurred. You will know about this right away, just as you'll know if the data upload was successful right away. If that were to occur, you'd want to download the report with the link circled here and contact your EHR vendor right away. They will want that report to see how to fix the error so that you can try the data upload again once it's been fixed. Now, hopefully you won't see that error message, but rather this screen showing that the upload was successful. At this point, you can either upload more using the button on the left or view your submission using the button on the right. Our group files were accepted. So first, we see that we scored 100 out of 100 at the top in the blue circle. Excellent. Let's say you had the wrong file and you want to start over. You can choose the delete button in the triangle, and you'll see this confirmation to make sure that you want to delete the actual file. So you want to make sure that that's what you want to do. But if you don't, if you do want to keep it, we're happy with our data upload, so we're not going to delete it. So you can see the individual measures that count towards the quality performance score below. And here we have 6 measures submitted with a subtotal of 58.83 points. From there, you can expand that section for more detail on each one of those 6 measures by clicking on the down arrow on the right to see each measure submitted and the points awarded for each measure. Underneath the measures that count towards your quality performance score, you can also see the measures that earn bonus points in the red rectangle. These measures fall outside of your top scoring measures, but they did receive bonus points. So you will see here that we had 4 measures that were submitted with a total subtotal of 5 bonus points. Next, then, you can also see the measures submitted that don't count towards the quality. So these are measures that maybe you submitted that, they weren't your top scoring measures. And so you can also, in each one of these sections, as you see in the rectangle, expand the section and it will give further detail. When we expand the measures that count toward the quality performance score, you will see each measure name, its ID, the fact that we use end-to-end reporting, the performance rate, and the individual measure score. The benchmark section under the bar graph shows your performance rate and your points. Now on the right, you're going to see details for this measure, including the numerator, the denominator, the data completeness, and the eligible population for that measure. Here we see our performance rate of 33.33% with 7.11 points, but the total measure score is 8.1 points. So we scored an additional point for that end-to-end reporting for that measure. That's a nice bonus to have that end-to-end reporting. At the bottom of the quality category page, you'll see how they calculate your final quality score by adding your performance points to your bonus points and then dividing by the maximum number of points. They take that and multiply that by the quality category weight of 50, and your total contribution to the final score by quality in our example is 50 out of 50, so excellent. Now throughout the portal, you're going to see the question mark icon, and that's under the times 50 category weight here in this example. So it gives you more information, and so use those if you have any questions. They're very helpful, and so you can find out more about what they are showing on the portal pages. Now from here, you can return to the overview page on the bottom left, or you can go to the promoting interoperability on the bottom right. It's really nice to get this real-time scoring. So here we see we have a preliminary score of 100 out of 100. Now, because we did group submission, our JSON file included data for the improvement activities and the promoting interoperability on our file upload. And so the overview shows each category. Here you can see the improvement activities performance category. If more than one reporting method is chosen, you will see that as well. So here we just have the EHR submission method, and then manually enter is underneath that. So you can see the max points and performance score with the bar chart there. With the EHR submission, we have 10 out of 40 points for the improvement activities category. If you manually enter the data at a later point, that score would be shown below the EHR method, and the highest score will be used if more than one method is chosen. Now we see the promoting interoperability category, and you can see we scored 100% for it as well. We're really an exceptional performer here today. If you also manually enter that data, that score would be listed below the EHR upload results. At the bottom of the overview screen, you can see the total preliminary score. In this case, we're uploading data for ourselves. So if instead you have a registry or a qualified clinical data registry submitting data on your behalf, we recommend that, again, you log into the QPP portal with your own HARP account using those credentials and verify the data that they submitted on your behalf is what you expected and there are no issues. You print the individual category screen and overview screen so you can have proof of what was submitted on your behalf, along with the data submission confirmation reports from the QCDR registry. So now I'm going to turn it over to Tamika, who will cover submitting your promoting interoperability and or improvement activities data by manual attestation.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, I'm Tamika Williams. I'm a Health Information Technology Advisor at Telligent. And so let's get into some details about reporting MIPS via the attestation method. Next slide, please, Michelle. So this example screen is of the improvement activity category submission section. In this area, you will select the performance date. The performance date selection tool is the calendar icon that's to the right of the field. You will put in the date range that you are reporting. Just remember that the date range for improvement activities has to be a minimum of 90 days. Next slide, Michelle. Step 2 would be to select the improvement activity that you would like to attest to. So to find those activities you want to report, you could use the filter by section, which will narrow your list from the more than 100. There's like about 113 improvement activities that are available. You can also type in a few keywords into the search box on the right that will help you quickly identify the activity you wish to report. So once you've completed your search of the activity that you would like to report, you can select that item by clicking on the check mark, and the item will be selected and turn green. Next slide, Michelle. You can see here that the selected improvement activity is green, and there is some detail that tells you the weight of that activity. The example here in the middle is the activity related to depression screening, and you'll see that that activity is 10 points that are earned, and it's at a medium priority. And so all of that is listed next to the actual activity. On this screen, you can also see the totality of your points for this category. If you see at the top, you'll see the top displays the total score of 40 out of 40, along with the completed activities. And it looks like here we have completed or submitted 3 activities. At the bottom, you'll see a trophy icon box that says max score for this category has been achieved. That just denotes that you have successfully earned the highest score for the improvement activity section. Next slide, please. Navigating to the next performance category. So once you have completed reporting, the improvement activity category, at the bottom of the page or the bottom of the screen, you could either click Return to Overview or click Go to Quality. You can also go to the left menu, and you can see that you can navigate to the next performance category on that side as well. So next we're going to take a look at the Promoting Interoperability attestation. Next screen, please. So for promoting interoperability category, first you would enter the performance period by, again, using the calendar icon to find the from and to dates. Remember, this must be a 90 days at a minimum. If a date range less than 90 days is selected, you will receive a score of 0. Next, you'll select the PI measure set. So that's going to either be the transition measure set, the PI measures, or a combination of both measure sets. It's important to note, or please note, that if you intend on having your PI category automatically re-rated to the quality category, it is very important that you do not enter any data here. So just starting to enter the to and from dates of your performance period will require you to submit that data. So once you enter any amount of data here, it will automatically override that reweighting option, and you must report the promoting interoperability category. So again, you cannot delete your entry, and you will have to report for that category if you begin the entry here. And next slide, please. So next, for the attestation statements for promoting interoperability. So those statements are prevention of information blocking attestation, the ONC direct review attestation, and there's an optional ONC ACB surveillance attestation. So you must choose yes for the first two to be able to attest for the promoting interoperability category. When you attest to these three statements together, you are confirming that you have acted in good faith to support the appropriate exchange of electronic health record information, and that you did not knowingly and willingly limit or restrict the compatibility or interoperability of the cert. So again, the first two attestation statements are required to move forward in the attestation process. Next slide, please. You can see each attestation here has been expanded. Feel free to use this slide as a reference if you are interested in reading through each of those statements. I will not bore you and read through them here. Next slide, please. So then the security risk analysis is required in order to earn a base score. It doesn't directly impact the scoring and calculation, but you have to attest to that. And so in order to attest to that, you would just check the yes, and then you'll see that their green circle and a check mark appears once you have selected that. Just to note, it is acceptable for the security risk analysis to be conducted outside of the MIPS performance period. However, the analysis must be unique for each MIPS performance period. The scope must include the full MIPS performance period and must be conducted within the calendar year of the MIPS performance period. So that's any time between January the 1st and December the 31st of 2018. So next slide, please. So now for each measure, you will enter the numerator and denominators manually for the two measure sets. So in this reporting scenario, you'll see that we chose a combination of both the 2014 and 2015 cert. And that's pretty much what you're seeing here. So the 2014 transition measures are on the right side. Underneath the measure name, you'll see as part of the measure ID the word trans, and if that's part of, and so that's just to let you know that that's part of the transition set as well. So on this screen, you'll see each measure name, the measure specification links, and also if there are any exclusions, if that's an option, it will be displayed on this screen as well. Next slide, please. So continuing with the attestation, you would enter in the numerator of 1 or whatever the numerator is, and you would enter in the denominator. In this instance, it is a 1. And so for a performance score of 10, you can see the person here in this scenario completed 9 measures. You'll see that at the top. You'll see the score at the top is a total of 100 points. And next slide, please. So the Promoting Interoperability bonus for submission of eligible improvement activities using CERT can be attested to by selecting yes, and this is for the reporting screens for promoting interoperability. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, Michelle mentioned earlier too, if you are using a registry or QCDR to submit on your behalf, having access to the portal is important because you'll be able to view your points from the registry or the QCDR submissions as well, even in the instances, if those third parties submitted on your behalf. And that's it for that. Next slide. We can now open up the floor for questions, and I will turn it back over to Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you,
The leader has unmuted your line.
And I believe I've opened up the phone line. So for those of you that have questions on any of this, please feel free to ask away. Go to the next portion of the HARP credentials.
Will that get me the chat box back?
No. Go over to the right.
There's nothing up here. Oh.
Do we have any questions on the data submission so far? Either by file upload or by manual attestation? Okay, well, if none so far, we still have time at the end after the HARP credentials. So if you think of something, please save it, and we'll have more time for Q&A after Kelly's portion. I'm going to go ahead and mute the lines now.
The leader has muted your line. To unmute your line, press #6.
Hi everyone, this is Kelly Smith. We're now going to take a few minutes to show you how to set up your HARP account. If you previously had an EIDM account, CMS has created a HARP account for you using the same username and password. If you already have an account, you may sign off now from the webinar if you wish. First, CMS has a great access user guide that can walk you through all the steps to create a new account. This guide can be found on their website at qpp.cms.gov in the resource library. To get to the resource library, you would click on the About tab up in the right corner that's circled in red, and then Resource Library. From here, you can search with the search box or scroll through all their resources. The guide is called the QPP Access User Guide. When you download this guide, it will be a zip file with 4 different documents. The Before You Begin file just gives you an overview of the sign-in process. The Register with a HARP account file walks you through all the steps with screenshots on setting up an account. I will also walk you through these steps in just a minute. I will also show you how to connect to an organization and what access role to choose. But if you want more information about these, there is a document, Connect to an Organization, and also a document called Security Official Access Document. The first step to register for an account is to go to qpp.cms.gov and click Sign in the top right corner. This is circled in red. Then click the Register tab and the orange button at the bottom that says Register with HARP. This will take you to the page to set up your profile. You'll enter in your information. Make sure to enter your personal information, not the practice information. Next, you will create your username, password, and challenge questions. You'll then be taken to a remote proofing page. This will be a series of questions about accounts, cars, or addresses you have now or have had in the past. This is to verify you are who you say you are. Remember to change your password every 60 days to avoid being locked out of your account. Then you'll get a confirmation that your account has been created, and it will direct you to set up two-factor authentication. Log in using your newly created username and password, and enter a phone number to receive a text or call with your security code. After you enter the security code, you can sign into QPP and connect to your organization. Once you sign in, on your home page, you may have a button that says Connect to your organization. If you don't, you can click on Manage Access on the left and be directed to the correct page. From here, you will select your organization type. Most of you will choose Practice. Next, search for your practice. You can choose either to search by your TIN or by the practice name. When the practice comes up, you will click on it and select Continue. At this point, you will select your role, either staff user or security official. Both can report data, but security officials also can manage other users. Each organization must have a security official, and they need to be registered before staff users can be authorized. The first security official will need to enter the practice TIN and an NPI and PTN for a clinician associated with the practice. If these are correct, the first security official will automatically be approved. Any additional security officials or staff users will need to be approved by the first security official before they have access. You will receive notification either stating that your role is confirmed or a request has been sent for approval. Once you are confirmed, you have access to report and view data. Connecting to other organizations such as APMs or virtual groups is similar, but please refer to the Connect to an Organization file in the Access User Guide for more information. If you need any assistance registering for your HARP account, please reach out to the QPP Help Desk at 1-866-288-8292. We will now open the lines again for any additional questions.
The leader has unmuted your line.
Okay, I believe I've opened up the line, so please ask any questions you might have.
Is somebody there?
Yes, I'm here. We're all here. What can we help you with?
If you have an EIDM account, do you have to set up the HARP account?
No, isn't that nice? They transitioned EIDM account over to the HARP. Yep.
Okay.
One thing I have seen, yeah, so you don't have to do that. A couple of the times when my clients have gone in, the account, their user ID is there, but it says, oh, you need to set your password because of the, I believe, the 6 months. You know, it's been a while since they logged into it. Maybe they viewed their feedback reports, and it's been longer than 6 months. So what I recommend is to, even if you're not ready to submit your data quite yet, go ahead and log in there, and that way if you have to resubmit it, what happened to both of my clients is we just had to call the phone number, and then they helped you through it right there. But that way you don't have to do it. You're all set to submit your data, and then you go through that step. And both times it didn't take more than, I'd say, 10 minutes. They answered the phone right away and helped right away, but just another step if you haven't. And then on the flip side of that, just make sure, you know, once you submit your data, the feedback reports will be coming. But if it's longer than 6 months, you'll have to reset your password again for security purposes. So try and stay in it, you know, every once in a while.
You're saying log into the HARP account using your EIDM credentials?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same interface, like it looks all the same and everything, but behind the scenes, they transitioned you over. So you're almost like grandfathered in if you have an EIDM account.
Okay.
Good question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think probably what I got. EK had me register.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
We can.
Hey, do you think you could take some time to demonstrate in the portal on the slides that you had where it designates like whether you're included as an individual or a group with the little icon that's right below the names?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard with when you have, you know, to block stuff out. And ours were actually just general demo files, so that I noticed one, we didn't get it grayed out, but it was just from a CMS like demo file, so it wasn't a true practice anyway. But so here you can see where it's blacked out right there on the reporting overview. So you'll see the reporting, you'll see the TIN there, and then the name in the TIN, and then when you go in to start reporting, you'll see it'll say individual or group, and there'll be, if it's neither, there'll be a little circle with a slash through it. Let's see here. Here we go. On my individual slide. Sorry, now I'm getting lost. It's all the way to the front, Kelly. Yeah. Here we are. Right here.
There you are.
So sorry about that fast forward and backward part. But so underneath the group name and the TIN and your title, it'll say MIPS eligibility. And in this case, in the center, you can see individual is selected with a check mark and group is selected with a check mark, versus right above that, you'll see individual with a slash through it, and it's black font, and then group with a check mark. So the difference here is that the person that I first pointed to in more of the middle must report for MIPS, or they will receive a negative 5% payment adjustment for 2018 in the 2020 year. The person above that is in black font, individual with the black slash through that, they are not required to report individually. And so if they do, it's strictly voluntary for 2018, and you will get feedback for that, but you will not receive a payment adjustment, positive or negative. And you're doing it more just to, you know, stay up on all the measures and voluntary and to get that feedback. But they both would have be eligible for a group submission. Does that help, Karen?
Absolutely. And then also, if they were to choose to report as a group, like the demonstration that you're giving here with the person who individually is not included, but if this particular TIN chose to report as a group and qualified for an upward adjustment, then this individual who is not included individually but reported as a group would be eligible for the upward payment adjustment if they received one.
Exactly. And that is one of the biggest things about reporting as a group, that you can get that. And now in 2019, you know, coming up, they added in the opt-in option. So for those people that decide I wasn't included for all three criteria for low volume threshold, like the 200 services and the 200 Medicare Part B patients and the more than 90,000 in approved and allowed charges, they can opt in for if they have one of those three criteria met. So it'll change a little bit, so that way it won't be voluntary. Let's say you are a rock star and you really want to submit your data. This year, just be voluntary and you get your feedback reports, but next year you can really submit and really get a payment adjustment with that opt-in feature.
That's an awesome information and an awesome new opportunity. And some of the other information that CMS is distributing right now is to remember that if you are included as an individual and you report as a group also, that CMS will take the best score for that particular NPI. So so CMS is kind of saying that if you want to go through the work of reporting both as an individual and as a group, that you will get the best score, and that will be where your payment adjustment comes from.
Exactly. Good points. Thank you so much for bringing those up, because that's the real questions that we do receive in trying to decide which is best for the practice situation, individual or group, and why and how do we do that, and what are the benefits and what are the downsides of it too, possible downsides.
Why is it put under patient responsibility though? It should have been
How about anybody else? Does anyone else have other questions to ask here? This is your time.
I don't know.
Hi, I'm actually just trying to find out how do we get this presentation?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? I apologize.
Okay, I'm trying to find out how do we get this presentation?
Oh, yes. So under the chat function there, you'll see a link. If you can pull up the chat and then have the link there. If you don't see that, then you can go to intelligentqpp.com and then click on Resources and Webinars. And then it's under the section QPP Program Updates, I believe it's called. The first link there with today's date, you'll see that. Click on that link, and then it'll say download. Click here to download slides, I believe. And then also the recording for this will also be in that same location after today. They're pretty quick about getting that up. So I'd say in the next few days, this recording will be available. If you just click on that same link, and there will be an option, it'll be on YouTube. Never did we think we'd be on YouTube for that. But great question. Do you see it there for the chat, or can you find that under the website?
No, it's not in the chat, and okay, there we go, webinars. Okay, thank you, I found it.
Oh, good, 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 thank you. How about anybody else? Well, I will say that we also provided some FAQs that CMS has received for data submission at the end. So I'm going to flip forward again here, the chat. And then I'll just reference those. I guess there is one that Tamika talked about, but I thought it was a pretty big thing that since we do have a lot of special status for folks, and maybe they don't plan on participating in PI. Let's say they got the hardship exception, or they're an NP or PA, and it's automatically reweighted to the quality category. That, boy, if you even enter, if you go to the PI category, you're attesting, and you forget that you aren't going to submit your data for PI because it's automatically reweighted, or because you have that exception application approval. But you go and you start entering a from and to date. Even that means that you have to keep reporting the PI category. So you can't like delete it off and then not have to submit it. By even filling out a date, then you're kind of locked into having to report the promoting interoperability category. So please just tread very lightly with that one, and don't, don't fill out anything on that page unless you're absolutely certain you are going to submit data for the PI category. That's a big one. And so you'll find other FAQs here that we've included in for the slides, and maybe none of them will pertain to you, maybe some will, but we just thought that might be kind of nice to see those if you haven't seen those yet. And just so you know that they keep the most recent file that was submitted for each category, but if you submit PI on a Monday and improvement activities on a Thursday, it keeps both PI and improvement activities if you go out there and attest or if you submit. But if you are uploading the same category and you do it twice, they'll keep the second file, not the first. So like they gave an example here, Monday you submit quality measures 1, 2, and 3, and then Tuesday you submit 4, 5, and 6. It only measures 4, 5, and 6 for the quality category. So, and data submitted through a file upload will not overwrite data submitted through another method. So remember on those slides where it showed two options, it showed EHR and then it showed underneath manual upload. so one doesn't supersede another because, like Karen was saying, they do take the highest score. They're always trying to give you the highest score.
I'm not done with her.
If you can make sure you have yourself on mute, please. We are hearing a conversation.
But, you just don't have to play the posters.
Oh.
How about anybody else? Anybody else have other questions? Okay. Well, we thank you so much for your time this afternoon. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch with Tamika, Hood, myself. Our contact information is here. Thanks so much and have a great afternoon.